Welcome everybody to my site. My name is Paul and I've been a student of ancient mysteries and ancient history and esoteric teachings for a really long time, spiritual teachings and so on. And over the years I've come across a lot of different stories that I've heard from people inspiring me in practice and so on. And they're little parables, and we all know we've probably heard parables from different sources in our life, and these are some you may not hear about elsewhere. Some of them are from India. So what I did is I collected a bunch of them. I started writing them down, and I haven't really memorized them. And I try to tell them in a little entertaining way and very casual, easy to understand way. But the first story I'm going to tell today is about why the blind man fell in the well. And I'll tell a few more if I can get through this one here. So apparently, once upon a time, there was some people sitting around a village, and along comes this blind man walking down the road, and he's like going with a little cane, and then he just kind of like fell in this guy's well. And all the villagers like, they start talking about, well, why did the guy fall in the well? And so they had a big discussion. Well, maybe the guy that built the well, he put it in the wrong place, and he didn't put a fence around it, and he did this and that, and it was his fault, and he shouldn't be building a well there, and so on. And then another person was saying, well, the blind man, he should have been out there being with somebody, and he shouldn't be walking around by himself. He's an old man, and he fell in the well because it's his fault. And finally, when the person says, like, wait a minute here, the person that's at fault is the person who watched him fall in the well. Because if you see the guy, blind man, coming along and about to fall in the well, and you just let him fall in, then you argue about why it happened. So basically, it's a simple parable, as you can understand, about who's responsible here. So in the modern era, we have a lot of situations where we have to explain to each other or give each other important information, and if we don't, you see, it can cause some problems. Because let's say, for example, the guy is walking along, and he's with his cane and everything, and he's just walking there, and someone grabs him and says, hey sir, you're about to fall in the well here, and he might get mad at you and say, well, stop, what are you doing here? I'm just minding my own business, and you just grab me and tell me I'm walking in the wrong place. So the message of this parable here is just that it's important to just be vocal and say, well, look, if you see something, just say something. And that's kind of what a lot of teachers that have come on this earth, amongst us, just saying, hey, look, beware, just be conscious, and don't tell people what's going on, because if you're the one that has the vision here, then we should be explaining to people, like, what's going on. And that's the moral of the story. So another one I have here is the farmer and the king's birthday. Now I'll try to tell this one. Apparently once upon a time there was a really nice king, and he was loved by the people, and every year what he'd do on his birthday, he'd have this big celebration, invite all the people to have all the fun and games and everything, and they were allowed to walk around all the king's palace and all the grounds and everything, and if they just touched one thing, the king would say, that's my gift to you. So, but there were two rules. First of all, you can only have one thing, and the other rule is if you touch it, it's yours, and you can't, that's it. So be careful what you touch. So the king was wandering around, and the day was going by, and everybody's out there getting their thing and touching things and coming up to the king and say, thank you very much for your gift. And the king would say, well, it's wonderful. I'm happy that you're happy, and go on your way and so on. And then he came across this man, and the man was like, he's got his arms up like this. He's like scowling and trying to figure out what should they do, what should they do, what should they do. And the king says, well, sir, time's getting tight here, and soon it'll be sundown, and you got to make your decision, and what's going on? And the fellow says, well, sir, honestly, I have a real problem. Because I see here, there's an oxen, and then there's a cart. And honestly, if I have an ox by itself, what is it good to me? Just have to feed it and everything, take care of it, and it doesn't do any work for me. I don't have a cart. But if I touch the cart, then I don't have an oxen. So I just don't know what to do. I want to have an ox and a cart, but I only can have one thing. So he threw himself at the feet of this king and says, king, I just don't know what to do. Please, I'm sad. I need this for my family and so on. And the king says, well, sir, stand up, sir. The first thing you touch was me, and I say whatever. You have my blessing. Go take the ox and the cart. So we get a little lesson about going to the source for what we need, and maybe just ask. You never know if you just ask. See, so I heard a little story about ask one time. A-S-K. Ask and you shall receive. Seek and you shall find. And search and you knock and shall be opened. That's the A-S-K, right? So little parables. Okay, so the next one here I have the mongoose with the golden fleece. In India, mongooses, they kill snakes, and they're kind of revered in a way because they're very agile and so on, but they're really kind of like a giant rat in a way, so people tolerate them because they kill the snakes, but they're really not exactly a happy animal to have around. So one day this fellow, he comes to a big, huge spiritual festival, and he sees this like mongoose, sitting there. Of course, in these stories, animals can talk. You see, so this fellow says, look, he sees a mongoose, and one half of its fleece was totally gold. It was like all shiny and just like brilliant and just perfect, and the other side wasn't. So the man says, well, look, tell me, what's going on with your fleece? It's got a part of it's gold. Why did you come here? He says, well, I'll tell you this story. One day I used to live in a little home near here, and around the family there was a couple of elderly people there, and they had a little hut there, and I used to pray on their food. When they'd go to bed at night, I would eat their food. And one day a saint came by and walking on there and knocked on their door and say, I'm going to this big spiritual festival here, and I need a place to stay tonight and maybe a little bit of food. And he knocked on these people's door, and just at that moment they're sitting down their last meal. They had just run out of food, and they're about to have a little meal, and they're sitting there praying and say, oh, thank you for the food and everything. And then this knock came on the door. And in India, there's a tradition that the guest is God. See, if someone knocks on your door and they might be, who knows who they might be. They might be a sage or a wandering traveler or saint or something. So by all means, serve them the best you have and wish them well. So these people sat down and they let this man eat, and he ate and was happy, and they didn't have any food left. And then in the morning came, and during the night the people died of starvation. And the man went on his way. And what happened was I ate some of the food that fell from this meal, and it turned half my fleece to gold. So now I'm here at this festival to see if I can find some more of that kind of food that turned the other side of my fleece gold. Because the food has been blessed, and there's so much love and so much devotion and so much spirituality and blessing in that food that it literally, this is the parable, of course. So let me see if I can find another one here. I like the man with the crowded house. The man with the crowded house. Let's see if I can tell this one. Well, once upon a time in India, I guess this story's from India, I guess. But anyway, there's a man and his wife, and they had a little place in the country and a little house, and they had a little place with a chicken shack, and they had a couple of a sheep and a goat, and they had a couple kids, and time went on, and boy, they got crowded in that house, and every day the wife was saying, screaming, I can't tolerate it anymore. I don't know what we're going to do here. The kids are fighting everything, and the house is so small, you got so much furniture in here and all this stuff, and I don't know what we're going to do. We can't even afford to move. So this created quite a problem in the household, and every day they would kind of argue about stuff, and finally, the man, he says, well, I don't know what to do, so I'll ask the little local guru and go over and talk to the local monk and see what he has to say about the situation. So, in those traditions, there was, people would listen to the monks because they were dedicated and everything, and they had a lot of wisdom, and, even though they weren't, God, but they were very honored, and the people would respect them. So he asked the monk, what should I do? So the monk started talking to him and asked him about his life and everything. You see how he's got a couple kids and he's got a place to live and everything. And he says, do you have any chickens? Do you have any chickens? Do you have any animals out there? He says, yeah. Sure, I got them. So, well, just bring him in the house with you and come back in a week. All right, so this man is like, well, I don't know. I don't want to argue with this monk, but that doesn't sound like a very good idea. So he just said, okay, well, I'll do what he said. And, so he went back home and he says, well, I don't know. He told his wife, I don't have an explanation for this, but the monk told me just to bring the dog, bring the cat, and bring the animals inside the house and come back in a week and talk to them. So, wow, then a week went by, like every day, the chickens are flapping around the house, and the goat would get up on the furniture, and the sheep would get involved with the dog, and the kids were flying back and forth and arguing, and it was a mess. So then the man says, oh man, I got to go back to this monk and say, what's going on here? Tell him what's going on. So he tells the monk the whole story. So, you can't believe what's going on in my household now, and you asked me to do this, and I'm trying to be a good devotee and everything, but, I don't know, it's caused me a lot of problems. So the monk says, well, hey, do you have any relatives? Like, oh yeah, I'm so lucky I have some nice relatives. They're not very far away. My brother and his wife, they're not very far away, and they're a couple of kids, and yeah, I do have some nice relatives. And the monk says, oh, well, by all means, just invite them over. Invite them over to your house and having a family gathering. And, oh, man, like, the monk, this time, he's like, man, I don't know what to do, man. This is just getting too much. But anyway, so he gives this, sends a little message to his brother-in-law and sister-in-law and all, and he said, come on over and visit for, we're going to have a family gathering. He told him, the monk told him to say it, so everybody wants to respect the monk, so they came over and had a visit and everything. And after a while, man, it just got, 1 week was so crazy that everybody, I can't even describe it. You can only imagine what happened in that household with all those people there, and the goat and the chickens and the cat and the dog and the kids. So then the guy says, okay, man, he's going back to monk a week later and says, dude, excuse me, sir, kind sir, this has caused so many problems in my life and everything, and I want to be obedient and everything, but, just help me out here. So the monk finally says, okay, well, just tell them all to go home and take the chickens back out there and, put everything back out there, and then come back in a week and tell me how it is. So then God, the monk says, the man says, oh man, finally the monk comes to his senses, and I can't believe what he. So he goes back and sends everybody away and takes the chickens and the goats out of the house and everything, and has a whole week of beautiful, relaxing time with his wife and everything. And he goes back and tells the monk, says, man, thank you so much. My house is so much more peaceful now. And the monk says, well, look, see, it's really the same as when you came to me about a month ago, but be grateful for your blessings, and, it could be worse. So that's the lesson for this little story here. So here, the monkey and the crows, the fighting crows. Now, in India, you understand there's, a lot of monkeys and crows and people, there's a lot more interaction with animals in India, especially in ancient India. Anyway, so apparently there was a little town, and a couple of crows got a hold of a piece of bread, a big round circular piece of bread, and they were fighting about it, and they're just back and forth making a whole thing in the center of town, like squawking away and trying to tear this thing. And basically the monkey, of course, the animals talk in these stories. And eventually one of the chief of the monkeys comes over and says, what's going on, crows? Come on, what's going on? You're fighting over this thing? You're making a whole disturbance in the neighborhood. So the crows would say, okay, look, I want this, I found it, it belongs to me. And then the other crow says, no, I found it first, it belongs to me. And they ripped it apart, and then the monkey says, okay, and he ripped it apart, and he gives this one side to you and one side to you, and that's it. Okay, end of the story. And then the crows started looking at it and said, well, his piece is bigger than mine. How come he got the bigger piece? And then they started to fight again. So the monkey took another piece and grabbed it and took a bite of it and threw it back down. And he says, okay, now they started fighting again. Well, now his piece is bigger than mine. Well, now what's wrong here? So the monkey said, look, okay, you keep doing that, I'm just going to eat a piece every time. Either you be satisfied or just you're going to lose everything. So the moral of that story is, it's better to have a little bit of something than all of nothing. So a little parable about being grateful. So I have a bunch more that I'll share with you. I'll tell this one more story here about the honest thief and the king. The honest thief. So I'll see if I can paraphrase it sufficiently and make it entertaining. Apparently, once upon a time, there was a local town yogi, and he would come and he would speak, and there was a boy who would come and listen every day in the evening, and he would be listening and listening, and he really was very interested, but he never asked for any teachings of yoga, or never asked for any meditation techniques or anything. So one day the yogi says, you know what, young man, I see you here every day, and I wonder, maybe you might be interested. Maybe I can teach you some techniques and everything, and you can practice them. And the boy says, well, sir, I'm really sorry, but you're a really holy man, and this practice involves integrity and honesty and all these things, and I'm just a thief. My family's a thief, and I was born a thief, and if they found me here talking to you and being at these little gatherings, spiritual gatherings, then they would reject me even then, and my townspeople would make fun of me because I'm a thief. So the yogi said, well, here's an honest man. It's his destiny. He was born that way, and he just says, okay, look, I'll teach you some meditation, and you just practice that, and just follow a few real simple rules. Always tell the truth. Whatever you do, always tell the truth. And another thing is, when you have some success in your life, and you have some blessings, and things are going well for you, then give a little time, give a little donation to the temple, and support the people, the teachings, and the yogis, and the gurus, and the town. And when you need something, then come to us, and we'll help you. So this man says, well, I don't know. He told me to be honest, so I guess I'm a thief, and I'm going off and do my business. And he got involved in some things, and he became quite good at his work. And just like the yogi said, when he was successful, he donated little nice things to the temple, and feel very proud of himself, and get some more instruction and some more inspiration, and start feeling better about himself. And he said, oh, this is really good. The yogi really taught me some nice things, and now I'm feeling like I'm quite successful. So he had an idea. He says, look, the yogi had told him, always offer your best, some part of your very best to the temple. So the man started thinking, I tell you what, I got to go over to that king's place, because he's got the best stuff. If I want to donate something to the temple, I got to get the best stuff. Just like my master told me, my teacher told me. See, I don't know what to do about this, but he told me just be honest and everything. So he goes walking down one evening to the gate where the king's palace was. And he just, he's a young man. He's kind of looks nice and harmless and everything. He starts talking to the guys about, the guards about and then the guard said, well, what are you here for? And the guy says, well, I'm a thief, and I'm here to rob the king. So the guards is like, well, if he's really a thief, he's not going to tell us he's a thief. He's probably like the nephew of the king, or, he belongs here. Somebody's playing a trick on us. So, well, he's harmless or whatever. He looks okay. Just let him in. So he did. So now the young man started thinking, well, that's, my teacher was really right. It's like I just tell the truth, and here I am. I'm inside. I got to rob the king. So he goes over and he finds a little place in the back, and he knows that he's going to get the best dishes, the best dishes, and fine things for the tables that he can offer to the monks at the temple. Now, his teacher, his guru, had told him one more thing just before he left. He says, by the way, young man, just remember one thing. Never mix salt and sugar. So he had forgotten about that one. But anyway, he gets in there and he starts putting everything in his bag, and putting all the nice silver stuff and all the different spoons, and he comes across a big thing of sugar and a big thing of salt, and then he drops it, and he remembers, he just forgot. Oh my goodness. His teacher told, don't ever mix the salt and the sugar. Now by this time this would happen when he was climbing out the window. He was getting out of the way, and all of a sudden he noticed that they all spilled together, and they all mixed up in his bag. So they said, oh, that's a bad omen, so I better go run back and put it all back. So he climbs back in the window, he starts putting everything back, and then the king found him and everything, and someone caught him, they called the king and everything. So here we go in the middle of the night, and the king comes down and starts talking to this young man. Says, sir, I know you look very healthy, young man. What are you doing here? And the boy says, "Well, I'm really, really sorry. I have to be honest. I'm a devotee of a teacher, and I was born into a thief life, and that's all I am. I'm just a thief. And he told me to be honest and always tell the truth. And he just told me that to offer some of his best of your work to the temple." And all, and that's why I'm here, and I got caught. So I'm at your mercy here, and whatever you want to do, and I'm sorry. So now the king was very impressed with this young man. He said, "Well, this guy's telling the truth. He's an honest boy, and he's also in nice. He's rapport with the towns, the country, the temple, and all the monks there. So he brings a nice vibe into my palace. So he says, okay, young man. Tell you what, now I'm going to fire this other gentleman over here, and you come and stay in my place and help take care of my grounds and everything, and you can invite your teacher here anytime." And from that day on, this same story has been told even now where you're hearing it, because the young man lived in that palace, and from then on, even the king learned from that same guru. So I think I would just leave it at that few stories, and if you like and share, I really appreciate it. I appreciate it's a lot of fun to tell little stories and parables and inspire people. And I hope I see you in some of my other videos. A quick little bit about my shirt here. It's kind of my logo here. I got this in Thailand, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. And I've never seen another t-shirt like it, but it's kind of my logo here. And it's the man watering, the person watering the land, watering the earth, and the moon. So thanks again. I hope to see you in some of my other videos.